3 years in the making, and it's finally here. Thank you for joining us for the first episode of Save Point. I'm Sean Campbell, and Halo 3 has finally been released. It's been out for about a few weeks now, and I think it's time we take a look back and see what we've been doing these last few weeks, what we've been up to, and what we can expect for the weeks to come. Released in November of 2001 as a launch title for the Xbox, Halo's deep story and unique gameplay cemented its success and quickly became Microsoft's odd, oversized entry into the console market's only saving grace, and is the main reason we can enjoy the 360 today. Not quite a nail in Sony's coffin, but we'll talk about that another time. One of its most lasting legacies is the rechargeable energy shield, a feature that's become a staple in many different styles of games. In 2004, the story was brought back down to earth, literally, for a little while anyway, with the release of Halo 2. And it brought with it a welcome and impressive online multiplayer that was the most played game on Xbox Live until 2006, when it was finally beaten by Gears of War. Halo and Halo 2 defined the Xbox as the console for first-person shooters. When the 360 came out, everyone waited with bated breath for Halo 3, and back in the summer we got our first taste with the beta. It was met with, not surprisingly, mixed reactions. Some people thought it just showed Halo 2.5. Others were just happy to play it. But the 25th has come and gone, and Halo 3 has finally been released. The story picks up after the release of Halo 2. Well, actually after the point where Halo Uprising will eventually end. But nevertheless, dropping the Chief back on Earth to join the rest of the cast and try their damnedest to save the Earth. One of the first things you'll notice is the enemies are quite fun to fight. The brutes especially, considering how not fun they were back in Halo 2. Even the Flood are fun to fight. Imagine that. The enemies' ability to work together to change their game up is an impressive addition to the game as well. The graphics, despite its criticisms, are quite amazing. Look at that detail and the lighting. It's just like playing Gears of War with the lights on. The story of Halo 3 is told on a much more personal level that fans are likely not used to. It's an excellent touch, and it was exactly what the franchise needed. It brings the story home and makes it more epic all at the same time. In addition to the impressive multiplayer features, the 9 new maps, the vast array of weapons and equipment to choose from, the ability to customize your own armor, there is one additional feature you're going to find in that box that they're not going to tell you about. The ability to do something amazing. What is it, you ask? Only the coolest version of Hamlet Act 5 Scene 1 of all time. Well, I was going to do the Hamlet scene for you, but I've been told by reliable sources that the romantic consequences of such a thing would be irreversible. So we won't be doing that. But I did name him Yurik. So say hey to Yurik. And for those of you out there thinking about getting the Legendary Edition, didn't quite pick one up on launch day for some strange reason, the answer is no, it will not fit on your pets. On the technical side, Halo 3 surpasses its predecessors. It allows for much greater degrees of control over gameplay and balance, and even makes them entirely customizable. And it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to affect the pro scene, but we'll talk about that at a later time. Well, Halo 3 certainly does live up to its hype, but does it live up to its own hype machine? Now I'm going to warn you here, this next part of the video may contain a few spoilers, so if you haven't beaten Halo or haven't read any of the books, I would encourage you to skip ahead. Go ahead, I'll wait. Before its release, commercials began to circulate around the internet showing older soldiers reminiscing about their experiences fighting alongside Master Chief, most of which center on this diorama depicting the climactic battle of New Mombasa. But it never happens. You could argue, though, that the experiences the soldiers describe can be read into the game's early few levels. But either way, the point is clear. Master Chief is considered a hero after the war, and his actions in the earliest levels of the game have an enormous impact on the story's canon. Neil Blomkamp's commercial campaign, called Arms Race, follows this same pattern, but its focus is on a dizzying and well-created battle between Marines and a bunch of pissed-off Wookiees, taking place mere moments before the beginning of the game. The end result of both is quite clear, an obvious red herring hinting that Master Chief was going to die in Halo 3. At the end of the game, Master Chief is left floating derelict in space with Cortana, and goes into cryostasis with his final words.
Wake me.
Possibly leaving the door open for more games, or perhaps to retcon the story back into Marathon in some way. Either way, the problem is this. This novel, The Ghosts of Onyx by Eric Nyland. It tells the story of a separate group of Spartan soldiers and their experiences between the events of Halo 2 and 3. These guys. Look familiar? How about now? And speaking of customizing your armor, there are rumors that there are certain armor sets that are available only to Bungie employees. If anyone out there has seen these in the wild, or if anyone seeing this is a Bungie employee, please send in pictures and video if you have them. We'd love to see them. And at the end of the novel, the surviving characters are taken to what is described to be, well, kind of like that. Obviously a tease. The novels are considered canon, and have even given us some spoilers in the past. For instance, the Brutes were introduced in the second novel, so it's not that big a leap of faith to say that Ghosts of Onyx would contain a few spoilers. But in reality, it's just a rich vein of stories that were completely untapped. But perhaps that's what this is. But let's be honest, it could be anything. So, long story short, Halo 3 was an excellent game, lived up to its hype, which is no small feat. Very few games actually do. It may not become the defining game for the 360 like Halo 1 and Halo 2 were for the original Xbox, but not through any fault of its own. The 360 has a lot of great titles that have their own rabid following, just as rabid as the Halo following. So I hope to talk about some of those in later episodes. I want to thank you for joining us today, or tomorrow, or whenever you read this after I post it. Next time, we'll be talking about the Orange Box, and why some of us are very, very happy to see that come out for the 360. And, want to hear the story of how I met Trixie? Talk about that too, and my visit to the 7th Annual World Cyber Games. So stay tuned.